You have a vision for your team, and I think sharing that a little bit. How do you create it? How do you communicate it? How do you maintain it? How do you grow it?
Sure.
Working through adversity. That picture you want to see for your team.
Well, I think what was really helpful and such a good learning thing that you and I have talked about is when I first got to LA, things went relatively well early, but I often think about you didn't worry about the things that sometimes I now let bother me. And there is an element of, hey, when you go into a place, what are the most important things? How do we really keep the main thing the main thing? And the first thing is, how do we really want to establish the culture that we want to be able to abide by? And really the culture is how we do things around here. And there's got to be a shared ownership. It's not necessarily my culture, the coaches, it's our culture. And I think you got to be able to reestablish that every single year. But a couple of the things that we build the foundations on is our communication. You show me a great organization, you show me a great team, I'll show you an organization or a team that a trademark of what they do at a high level is they communicate really well. And that's not just, transmitting information, that's also listening and being able to collaborate and have that shared ownership. So, hey, how can we be the best communicators in the world, both visually and verbally? And that's not exclusive to the hand signals, that's with the body language and our responses. And then how can we represent...
So let's dig into that.
Sure.
Visual, that's really good now.
Yeah.
Visual communication.
Absolutely.
Body language, signals. Yeah. Players, coaches, with one another. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the vibe, and I tell our players all the time, I see better than I hear, and you can really see when you flip the film on, what kind of energy are we really using from one another, whether that's a stop or whether that's a response, where, some of the most powerful examples of that are how quickly the defense takes the field on a sudden change when we put, if the offense turns the ball over in the tight red area on the opposing, where now that forces a team where, hey, they're already in a situation where they've got points and they're likely to try to punch this thing in. Hey, what kind of energy and what kind of vibe do we take the field with, hey, I got your back? And that can be communicated without those types of things. Or how do we play complementary football? Or how do we really go get guys off of the pile and pick each other up? What does that look like? What does it look like the way that the special teams unit takes the field when the defense comes on the field, when the offense comes on the field? How we respond to those negative setbacks? Is it the head slash down, or is it the eyes up, let's move on to the next play with the resilient mindset and mentality that we want to embody? Those are the things that you want to do. And then I think there's just got to be a joy in it. You just look at it. You can't really, you can never be stressed and joyful at the same time. So let's go have an authentic joy, a zest for the opportunity that we have to go be able to compete. And I think that's what we had early on. And I'll be honest with you, Coach, and we talked about this a little bit. We've had such a good long run of success. And then this past year, it was a very humbling year. And I would be the first to tell you that as a leader, I didn't do nearly a good enough job for our team of exhibiting that joy. I let the expectations we had get in the way of having that joy. It becomes a little bit more about you than you'd ever like to admit, and you start losing the real purpose for why you do this, about the players, about the coaches. And some of our players who I love, you talk about being able to hear, the things where people need to tell you the truth. Cooper Kupp, one of the greatest players I've ever coached, also one of the most special human beings I've ever been around. When I'm reflecting with him, he said, here's the thing. I think that, we really probably became a little bit more results-oriented than process-oriented. And you lose that joy, and then, guys are playing, instead of playing loose with, hey, let's go attack success, there's a little bit of you're almost shackled by your own expectations, and we don't ever want to do that. And I think that's one of the things that we haven't done that I'm hopeful we can get back to.